Greetings, Star Wars fans. Whether you are part of the crew of the mysterious Katana fleet or you just like zipping around space in your Z95 Headhunter, my name's John Lee. I'm here with another episode of Universe Expanding Books and Toys. I decided to start a little series here about my favorite era of Star Wars, and that's the 90s. That's when I was a tweened teen and beyond. That's all my favorite stuff came out in there. And I did an outline to see what I wanted to talk about. When it came down to it, I couldn't have done it in one episode. So what I'm doing is calling this That 90s Series Star Wars Edition. A little clue, this is what I'm going to talk about. There's Admiral Thrawn there, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm going to be talking about the Zahn Trilogy, starting with Heir to the Empire. But before I get into that, I always like to show a couple of things that I've got over the past couple weeks since my last episode. One of the things I got was finally my Mando helmet with the flashlight on the side. Look at that thing, it's cool. This is the way. Got a couple figures come in finally. The Bad Batch, Crosshairs, and Hunter. Very cool figures, very cool series. About halfway through the first season so far. Can't wait to see where they go with it. Also in that wave was Asajj Ventress, and anybody who knows me knows that she's one of my favorites, so I'm excited to have that one. As far as books goes, Heir to the Empire got a new release in a paperback. So did Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, and one of my favorite books, Star Wars Shatterpoint with Mace Windu. I bring this one up specifically. Oh, this is not the new version. This is the original version. No reason for me to buy the new one. I have that one. But the Path of Destruction Darth Bane book and Heir to the Empire already had unabridged audio versions. So for this one, they brought out an all-new audiobook version. That's important because in the late 90s, early 2000s, almost all the books were abridged, cutting out 75% of the story. I always hated that. So I'm glad to have a new production with the entire story, which is a brutal one, but I do suggest it. In comic books, the week before last brought out the War of the Bounty Hunters issue. And of course, because it's June, Pride Month, there's a Pride cover with Yerica Quell, who is the leader of Alphabet Squadron in those books. Star Wars also has its edition for War of the Bounty Hunters, and also has a Pride cover with Lando on it. But we're here to talk about a very special book, Heir to the Empire, my favorite Star Wars book of all times. I've read a lot, and this one's my favorite, and probably always will be. I was lucky enough a few years ago to go to a Star Wars celebration and meet Timothy Zahn, excuse me, and actually get his signature, which is a really cool experience. Super nice guy, very personable. If you ever meet him, you should be delighted. He's a really cool guy. The second book in the series was Dark Force Rising, and there's a little tiny Thrawn there at the bottom. He never gets on the covers that much in the original stuff. Now, when he comes out in a comic book or a book, or the re-release of Heir to the Empire, he's full, this whole face, he's just right there. But originally, I don't know why he wasn't on the covers much. In fact, he's not in the cover of the third one at all. But there's Jorah Sabaoth, the Mad Jedi, and then, of course, Mara Jade, who was introduced into this series, and also a very, very popular character. In fact, so popular that she and Thrawn were listed as some of the top 20 favorite characters in Insider, and even though they weren't in the movies at all, and they got a model named Shannon McRandall to portray her for a photo shoot for the magazine and for a card for the Decipher's collectible card game that came out at the time. Speaking of games, West End Games had a great Star Wars role-playing game, and the Zahn Trilogy took presence there as well. There's the Dark Force Rising source book. There's the one for Last Command. I do not have the one for Heir to the Empire. Those are a little harder to track down and tend to be kind of expensive. One day, though, I'll have it. That game system is amazing. Now, of course, at the time, in the 90s, the Power of the Force 2 series of figures came along. And so they wasted no time making Thrawn with his Yislamiri draped across his shoulder. Notice that this is signed by Timothy Zahn himself. Order 66 Toys had him visit, and they sold a couple of the figures that he signed. Mara Jade, also there with Luke's lightsaber, because that's part of the story, also signed by Zahn. And then the Space Trooper, who is a stormtrooper in basically space suit. He can fly around 0G. They've got little jets so they can move around. Very cool concept. Of course, it was so popular that Micro Machines even got in on the action with these epic collections, which look like a paperback version of the book. It's even got the book publisher logo as well as the Gloob logo. And when you open it up, you got a bunch of little versions of the characters. There is Thrawn, there's Mara Jade, and a couple of the ships from the series. Of course, eventually, because it was so popular, they had to adapt it into comics. So there's the first issue. Out of 18 issues of the whole trilogy, that's the only one with Thrawn on the cover. Again, I don't know why, he's so cool looking. But that is a great one. This is the one that they use with the new comic pack, Luke, that comes with that same outfit, the black tank top. And he comes with a Yslamiri, which makes no sense because why would he? Yslamiri are basically tree salamanders that can repel the Force. If you try to use the Force against somebody and they've got one around them, it nullifies the effect. So Thrawn got a ton of those just to deal with Luke specifically. Of course, Mara got in a few covers. Luke had a lot of good action in that series, comic book and the books. And then the final one with Jorah Sabaoth, Mara Jade, and the ending fight with Luke Skywalker, Luke's clone. A few years later, they started the comic book series, and they weren't going to waste any time not doing Heir to the Empire. So there's the first one. It's got that first issue. It's got Grand Admiral Thrawn and Talon Karrde, who was basically the businessman who replaced Jabba the Hutt when Jabba passed away in Return of the Jedi, thanks to our Hutt Slayer Leia. They also did one with Luke and Mara, and there they are, looking real cool. This is the one that has Mara with the purple blade. I know there's different variations of it. Eventually, when she got her own lightsaber, or maybe when she was a... yes, in fact, that leads to the next one. When she was the Hand of the Emperor, the Emperor's personal assassin, she had a purple blade as well. And this is that figure once they got to the Black series. Now, I've no reason to show the Rebels Thrawn or the new Black series Thrawn, because those are connected to stuff that happened afterwards. Those are new canon. This is all expanded universe, or legends as you like. I hate that term, but it's what they use nowadays, so that's what we're going to go with. So that is Heir to the Empire in a nutshell. My favorite series of books out of them all. Brought us a lot of great characters. Mara, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Jorah Sabaoth, Talon Karrde, Admiral, eventually becomes Admiral Pelayan, who was a great Imperial character with like a 40-year record as an officer, who eventually kind of becomes a good guy. Rook and the Nogri race, who do show up in Rebels. But more important than anything is Heir to the Empire is the book where Leia gives birth to Jacen and Jaina Solo, who eventually become the main characters of the rest of the books after that. So a very important series. I do not think we would have the amount of Star Wars content had that series not been a huge success right off the bat. We probably wouldn't have shows. We probably wouldn't even have had other movies. Maybe the prequels, because George Lucas had thought about that, but the trajectory would have been completely different. And of course, it's all done artistically, as Thrawn would say. That's all I have for you tonight. I want to get to one more thing, and that is I want to start giving stuff out for these, but I need more viewers, subscribers, shares, and likes. So if you enjoy these, and I think you do, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten this far, please subscribe, like, share. I need to get a lot of people involved in this. I, of course, love talking about this, but I think there's a thirst for knowledge specifically about the older stuff, although I will talk about new canon stuff eventually as well. So please do that. I've got a stack of books and comics and action figures from books that I found in my closet that would make great prizes. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm John Edward Lee. This has been Universe Expanding Books and Toys, That 90s Series, Episode 1, the Zahn Trilogy. Thank you so much. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.